Welcome to This Week with EdSurge. I'm Ira Apfel, editorial director here at EdSurge. This week's guests are both defending something slow against something fast. First, a four-year college degree at a moment when AI can produce a credential-adjacent skill in just minutes. And then, a teacher writing fellowship, where an essay takes months to draft at a moment when AI could write that same essay in 8 seconds. Both guests think time is what makes it count, not because slower is always better, but because the years and the months are where the actual learning happens. Skip the time, and you skip the point. Let's get into it. Every few months, another headline declares the college degree is dead. Meanwhile, a 2025 Gallup survey found AI use at work nearly doubled from 21% in 2023 to 40% in 2025. So the big question is, why spend 4 years and take on a mountain of debt for a credential a machine might make obsolete? Rita Finkel says the data tells a different story. She's co-president of the Armory Foundation and director of the Armory College Prep Program. Her latest piece for EdSurge argues that college was never just about learning a technical skill, but rather it teaches students how to think, and that skill will never expire. Rita, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Ira. Delighted to be here.
So before we get into the data, you're pushing back on the larger narrative that AI is making the college degree obsolete. Why do you think that has taken hold so quickly? And what are the headlines missing?
I think the headlines are missing that AI is just another tool. And I think it's going to be used well by people who know how to think. And if everybody in society forgets how to think for themselves, how to write for themselves, how to research for themselves, I think we're going to be in a pickle. And I am a huge proponent of seeing a 4-year college degree as an investment in yourself. It's something that no one can ever take away from you, and it's never going to expire. You will always have that.
The College Board's Education Pays 2026 report shows graduates still outperforming non-graduates in employment and earnings. What's driving that gap even as AI reshapes entry-level white-collar work?
There are still a lot of people who recognize that getting through 4 years of college is not an easy thing. And it provides people with diligence and direction and dedication and all those good D words that make you think, all right, I'm going to hire somebody who has a college degree, and knowing that they've put in the time and energy to avail themselves of that credential. It's not to say that people without college degrees aren't worth taking a chance on, but I do think that there's a number of benefits that come along with a college degree. People vote, they live longer, healthier lives, they have greater civic participation, better career alignment. There's a lot of things that come along statistically with a college degree.
In your article, you wrote about how there's a St. Louis Fed analysis which found that from 2000 to 2025, workers with only a high school diploma face unemployment rates at a higher degree than bachelor's degree holders. Why has that gap held so steady for 25 years, do you think?
I suspect it's the fields. If you look across what people with college degrees do after college, very often it's a steady industry. And I think people who have high school diplomas are taking positions that might not be quite as steady.
Are you concerned that in the latest economy that jobs with college degrees are becoming a little bit less steady? There's more hiring and firing and layoffs.
I look around and I think we are in very interesting times. And if I had that crystal ball that could say everybody's jobs are going to be steady, or this group is going to be steady, or that group is going to be steady, I would be in a very different place. But as I look around and I think things need to settle a bit, but I would still not give up the concept of encouraging people, young people, to seek 4-year college degrees, regardless of what's happening in different industries. One of the things that I often think about is when coding became a big deal and everybody wanted coders. And all these coding schools were set up for short times. They were 12 weeks, 16 weeks. And in some cases, you paid a very high fee. And in some cases, you paid a percentage of what you earned for the next number of years. And everybody's flocked towards them. And now nobody needs a coder. And that to me is the reason why a 4-year college degree is a valuable thing. It's not the flavor of the day.
I want to get back to your article for a second. And some of the research that you mentioned, for example, even in 2025's softer hiring market, Goldman Sachs data showed that the unemployment rate was around 7% or so for young non-college workers compared to 4.6% for recent grads. So what should a high school senior take from those two numbers?
What is very clear to a 17-year-old that in the course of your lifetime, the difference between a high school degree and a college degree is $1 million in earned income. And that is very clear. Unemployment rates, shades, those were clear, and they can represent millions of people. But truthfully, if I'm saying to you when you're 17, you get a college degree and you are going to make $1 million, at least $1 million more in your life than if you only had a high school degree. I think that's the statistic. That's the statistic that we talk about in our program that really rings true and has held up for a very long time.
You argue that AI actually raises the value of human skills like critical thinking and judgment. And that is certainly something that a lot of people, I think, today would disagree with. Western Governors University surveyed more than 3,000 employees on this, and their findings are kind of telling. What are employees telling them that they can't get from a machine?
Ethics, honesty, trustworthiness. What type of world do we want to live in? I mean, I run an organization that 38 very smart people who are dedicated to what they do could not be replaced. It's a track and field center. We run programs, educational programs, but we also run a lot of athletic programs. And there's no replacing the people that work in this building because we are holding children's hands and holding seniors' hands and saying, you can run better, you can improve your health, you can improve your mind. I mean, there's so many things out there, and maybe some of the mindless jobs will be given to AI. Let's hope that's where it goes, kind of like the Industrial Revolution, where women didn't have to do their own laundry any longer.
Not every degree is created equal. And you say in your article that it's fair to question a low demand degree with high debt that comes along with it. So how should a student weigh that decision differently than the blanket, quote unquote, skip college story that's getting attention right now?
There's so many different factors that impact a family and a student's decisions on what they're going to do. One part of our job at the Armory is to kind of help the students explore what it is they want to do. And what the price tag associated with that for colleges and what is going to be the benefit of it. And with a clear eye. So, for instance, we have a number of students who think that they want to be doctors. It is a very long, hard road. And so we try and get them into a hospital setting. We have a marvelous partner with our friends across the street at New York Presbyterian Hospital and Columbia University Irving Medical Center. And very often it's come out of a summer in a hospital and saying, oh my, I think I have to rethink that. A student might think this is going to be a great career for me. I always chuckle when I think about the year that the CSI, crime scene investigators, was a very big deal. And every kid would come in the door and say, I want to be a crime scene investigator, having really no idea other than what they were seeing on TV. So I think that the Pit TV show, The Pit, is helping us disabuse people who think that there's lots of glamour and romance in a career as being a doctor. Not that there isn't great value to it, but it's a long, hard road, and it's not for everybody. I would say we very seldom say to any of our students, yes, go off and be a philosophy major. right? English majors are a different thing, but a philosophy major, that's a hard degree to sell afterwards. So we want to give them a little bit of encouragement to pursue what they're interested in, but we also want to give them a dose of reality to make sure that they understand what it is they're pursuing.
You obviously sound a little bit more uh, hopeful about AI, and that AI is not going to be the end of the world here, particularly for high school students looking towards college, or maybe not going to college. So I'm wondering, how should they factor in AI and all this in their learning and in their future education? What role does AI have to play? Because sometimes we see it as an either or, like AI yes or AI no, or college yes or college no. And I'm wondering, what role really should it be playing?
I again think of AI as a tool, and I remember when the internet was becoming very, very popular, and that was going to be the end of learning, and that was going to be the end of everything, anybody having to know anything. And I don't think it has been. I think there's been some very wonderful things that have come out of the internet. There's been some wild things, but there have been tremendous benefits from connecting the world together. I'm an optimistic person by disposition. So I look at things in a way that is always the glass is half full rather than half empty. And I think mankind has the ability to create wonderful things that help people. And, I would like to see AI used as a method to really attack some of the very big problems we have in the world. And it's still going to need humankind to step in there and present the problems and negotiate them and navigate them. I don't see AI as replacing the human brain.
Rita, thanks so much for walking us through this.
My pleasure.
We'll link to Rita's piece in the show notes. Rita's argument comes down to this: the skills that hold up against AI are the ones that come from struggling through something yourself. That's also the whole premise of our next conversation. I sat down with my colleague, Cobretti Williams, at ISTE Live and ASCD Annual in Orlando, Florida, a few weeks ago. Here's that conversation. I'm joined today by a colleague of mine, Cobretti Williams. He heads up ISTE and ASCD's Voices of Change Fellows Program. Cobretti, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Ira. Pleasure to be here.
So explain to folks, what is the program, how long has it's existed, and what's your role in it?
Yeah, so the Voices of Change Fellowship Program is a writer's fellowship program for K-12 educators who want to be a voice of change in their classroom and chronicle their experiences with teaching and learning throughout the academic year. And they publish about 4 essays detailing and specifically naming the ways in which AI and technology are impacting teaching and learning.
And the new class of fellows is about to start up, correct?
Yes. We just recently started up and they're kind of getting ready to publish their first essay. So it's very exciting.
What's it like for you as an editor? You're reading these very personal essays by educators. So I think, you kind of also, you want to handle them like delicately a little bit because they're making themselves vulnerable. But you also have to be an editor and say, that's not good enough. I need something here. I need something there. How is that for you?
It's the best part of my work with the Voices of Change program. This program has been going on for the last 5 years. So I've been fortunate to work with over 40 fellows over that time to help them hone their voices and their personal experiences, which I think are tantamount to kind of what the program is about. I think some come into it with differing experiences. Some have been first time to writing, first time to pitching, first time to being vulnerable and using I statements and putting themselves out there in a way. So as much as my work is about kind of the structure of an essay that's anywhere from 800 to 1,500 words, it's also part therapy session and kind of getting them to really hone in on what aspects of their experiences are impacting them as teachers and as school leaders, so that when they are in spaces, whether that's writing essays or even at ISTE Live like we are right now, they're able to speak eloquently and confidently about their experiences and help other teachers and other educators also create change in their classrooms.
What is the goal? What What do you hope to get from this? What do the fellows hope to get from this? What is ISTE's goal for all this?
It's kind of a bit in the name, in the sense that I think that we're all here to transform education to some degree, whether that is via publishing essays, whether that is attending ISTE Live, and or whether that is talking about topics that often aren't really discussed in a lot of publication outlets, at least specifically from a first-person perspective. In addition to working with the fellowship, I've also gotten a chance to work with the editorial team for ISTE and ASED, and we have fantastic journalists and reporters who are reporting on real issues that are happening in the classroom today. And I think that we all have the singular goal of improving K-12 education for the better.
The focus is for this year's program is on AI in education. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, right? AI is everywhere. AI is everywhere. But I'm kind of curious, how is that manifesting itself with the writing that you're seeing and your conversations with this new class of fellows?
It's manifesting, I think, kind of organically in the sense that everyone is kind of making sense of it in their own way. There are some fellows who are experts and have kind of been working to create governance frameworks and policies that impact the way that students and teachers use AI. And then there are some teachers and educators who, quite frankly, don't engage with it really at all and would prefer not to. And I think that that's okay. Within the writing that is published this year, we want to show the full spectrum of what better understanding and educating ourselves and building awareness about AI and technology looks like. I think that I'm more so curious to kind of see what the improvement and what the understanding of fellows' expertise and awareness of AI looks like as they go through and publish each of the 4 essays.
I'm curious how the whole process unfolds. How are fellows picked? What's their process for applying? And then what's it like if, once they're selected, a process is like for just getting one essay, approved and published?
For the application process, it's a simple application that includes a small writing sample. And we receive roughly 200 applications each year. And from that pool, we select 6 fellows. So it's a very competitive process. But I think me and the team that reviews and selects the fellows are always looking for that individuality, that uniqueness, the way in which that they approach talking about the topics and the subjects that they're passionate about. I think each of the fellows in this particular cohort each brought a different perspective as far as AI and technology that was really fascinating and interesting. But also these fellows are all from all over the country. We have a fellow from Alabama. We have a fellow who is in New Jersey. We've had fellows who've been as far as Hawaii. So in each of them, even if they're talking about the same topic, they're each approaching it in their own unique individual way. And so I think that that is what translates to the pitching and the writing process, is really understanding, okay, what is my specific experience and what would I want anyone who reads my essays to know about that experience? And that's kind of all enveloped in my one-on-one meetings with them. Again, it's part editor and this is the structure of your essay, but also it's part, understanding who they are as people. And from there, they draft in earnest an essay, and we kind of go through a developmental process where we tinker with the structure a bit, and I get to know them after a while, so I am able to say like, oh, this is more you. This sounds like you. I don't think you're being fully honest here. I think you can go 1-2 sentences more about how you're feeling. I think that's a piece of these essays that makes them unique, is like we use I statements. So own everything that you feel about it, even if it's not the most popular opinion. One of the amazing parts about this program is that essay 1, you kind of see the timidness behind like, oh, how are people gonna receive my writing, to essay 4 being like, I don't care about that. This is beating in my heart and I have to get it onto the page. So that progression happens over the next 8 to 10 months, and it's beautiful to see, and I hope that readers will enjoy it.
And I imagine this is one area where you really don't want to see AI in writing? You really want the
No.
people typing it out or writing it by hand?
No. I think that we want people to be themselves, and we don't want perfect writing. I think that we want people to go through the process, and I think again that's the difference between AI that could write you an essay in about 8 seconds, and versus a human who maybe had to struggle for a couple of weeks going back and forth with me about an essay. There's beauty in the imperfection, because from that imperfection is authenticity, and I think that is not necessarily something that you can get from AI and technologies, like that authenticity. The reader knowing that, okay, when I read this paragraph, I know that it came from this fellow because I've been reading their essays. I know what their experience is like. This feels true to them. And that's something that I, as a human, that I can connect with.
Cobretti, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ira.
2 conversations, 2 different worlds, 1 shared idea. Rita made the case that a college degree holds value because it's hard to get and hard to fake, and that the struggle itself is what builds judgment AI can't replicate. Cobretti made almost the same case, but for writing. He talked about the beauty in imperfection and how a fellow's 4th essay reads nothing like their first because that growth only happens by doing the work yourself. Different ideas, but the same lesson. Skip the time and you skip the point. If you liked hearing from Cobretti, stay tuned. We'll have more conversations with Voices of Change Fellows in the coming weeks, hearing directly from teachers writing about AI and education in their own classrooms. That's it for this week with EdSurge. Thanks to Rita Finkel and Cobretti Williams for joining us, and thanks to all of you for listening. For the EdSurge team, I'm Ira Apfel. We'll be back on your feed next week.